Lewis Hamilton's described this as an unprecedented energy challenge. Fernando Alonso says it's quite sad. Silverstone is a circuit that drivers love. So why, John Noble, are they talking in such negative terms about coming to this great classic track?
It's the layout, the layout that for us as followers of the sport, for fans, for drivers, that nearly flat out cops, the maggots, Beckett swoops, always spectacular to watch, always spectacular to drive. You never see many places in the F1 calendar that are greater for an F1 car than there. But the problem is this year these cars are energy starved, and the worst areas for these generation of cars are high-speed corners. While they run out of battery, they go into energy preservation mode. And Fernando Alonso, when I started discussing the corners today, he referred to Beckett's not as something spectacular, he called it a charging station.
He's always good for a quote, Fernando Alonso, and some drivers have tried to talk around it a little bit. Lando Norris was asked about it in the press conference not long ago, and he was kind of equivocal because he didn't want to trash the race, did he? Particularly as it's home race, he feels a responsibility. But this is a concern for drivers, and the problem is here that it's a lopsided track, isn't it, fundamentally, in terms of your track configuration and your opportunities, and that's no more exposed than by that Copse, Beckett's, Maggots area, so turn 9 onwards, where there's just no natural opportunity to charge.
Yeah, there's kind of two issues here. The first is it's a lopsided track, a bit like Montreal in some respects. You've got this section from the start-finish straight, around Abbey, all the way around the complex down to Brooklands, a lot of heavy braking zones. So it shouldn't be too bad, actually, enough to charge the battery up, good deployment. The problem is on the exit of Brooklands, there's a very short straight mode. Then it goes into corner mode, so the cars are going to already slow down. And drivers should, in theory, then be flat all the way down to Stowe. I think Franco Colapinto says nearly 2 kilometres where you're there. The battery only lasts 11 seconds of that. So this is the problem, that you've got this spectacular high-speed section where the cars are in corner mode, so the speed's dropping. You've got rolling resistance with the tyres as the tyres are turning, so the speed's dropping. Potentially they need to super clip to try to get some speed boost for the straights. So it's kind of a perfect storm of circumstance with a layout that sadly would ultimately benefit from a first gear chicane ahead of some of these corners, but you can't do that.
And of course, this just exacerbates the problem that's still there with these power units, that anything you gain from being flat out through these on-the-limit fast corners, you make up many, many, many times by using them as a harvesting opportunity, given that huge amount of power, 350 kilowatts from the MGU-K. Max Verstappen has talked about driving this in the sim and laughing, so he's another one who's been very critical of it. There's two types of drivers. They're very vocal about it, and there's those who are sort of talking around it. And it shows that although improvements have been made with the way these are running from Miami onwards, and it has got better, these hard limits are still there. There's still frustrating drivers, still frustrating teams, and it is going to impact what they look like, partly from the outside, but also from the inside, because even if you're not going much slower necessarily through super clipping or lift off or whatever, and it doesn't sound like much, it will actually feel like a huge amount to the drivers.
Yeah, it's the switch between straight mode and corner mode. This is what made 130R such a problem. It's what made turn 9 in Australia. Remember, that was one of the worst sequences of corners we saw, but they changed the rules since then. We've had tracks where these cars work perfectly fine. Miami was fine, Monaco fantastic, Montreal, despite having those 2 long straights, actually worked, we didn't notice. So it's just a combination of factors here. The switch between the straight mode out of Brooklands into corner mode, then long flat out sections. And you've got there's always this confusing element about Formula One, that for us watching and for drivers, it's the high-speed corners that make Formula One absolutely fantastic. The Copses, the Maggots, the Becketts, the Eau Rouge at Spa, Blanchimont at Spa, for example, that's what people love seeing. But for engineers and for these cars, all the lap times in the slow corners, all the lap time is about how much you can gain when the car's actually going slower, how much energy you can harvest in that. So you've got this conflict really, and this is what the drivers don't like, is that in the best corners, the corners that should be like this, like Copse, should be touch and go flange, should be spectacular. They have to think, am I better off actually just lifting here for a little bit, charge the battery up, and then I can gain some more time on the straight. This is what annoyed them at the start of the year. And I think this is what's going to become a big talking point here this weekend.
And it's even annoying with turn 1 as well. Abbey, which is a fast right-hander, but you're going to have to, you're going to run out of power in that long charge down to the slower corners. So it's a concern. And we are going to see this become a talking point again, and we already have today, because not only have we got Silverstone, we've got Spa as well, which could be even worse. I thought one comment that was interesting from Fernando Alonso, you asked him earlier about, oh, is it going to be like turn 9 in Australia? And Fernando's response was basically, well, wait until tomorrow if you think that was bad. So this is very, very much a big talking point among the drivers, and it's that tension between a power unit formula that has this limitation and drivers want to be on the limit in those challenging corners that cannot be resolved with the hardware as it is.
Yeah, we are moving forwards with the regulations. We're shifting to 60/40 by 2028. We recently published some telemetry which shows actually the speed traces are better, the cars are quicker. But the one element that cannot be solved is the problem of 130R, the problem of COPs, the problem of Beckett's with high-speed corners where there's no ability to energy charge much beforehand. So it's just a quirk of these rules. One team principal said to me today, there's nothing we can do. These regs are set. Even the tweaks for 28 aren't going to improve this. So it's a fundamental problem that unfortunately, some of the best corners, you know, I've seen cars go through COPs, I've seen cars go through Beckett's. They look amazing, they're quick, they're challenging. You take away that challenge, you lose a little bit of the spirit of F1 and what people come to watch.
Yeah, you don't want people sat inside the limit of grip in the fast corners, and that's what this incentivises, because there's huge amounts of lap time in it as well. Now, the positive thing is, for the actual racing itself, it will create opportunities to pass. We'll potentially see some yo-yo racing, but it's that pure on-the-limit driving that it is a real, I think, concern for. And interestingly, Fernando Alonso tied this whole debate whether he wants to continue in Formula One as well, doesn't he? So you keep having this with big names in Formula One, Verstappen, Alonso, etc., questioning how much they want to be here because of this. And it's just going to explode again, because we're going to be talking about this after practice. We're going to be talking about this after sprint qualifying, after the race, the sprint race on Saturday. So it's going to be a weekend long and probably month long with Spa coming up, points of contention.
The racing itself may not be too much of a problem, because we've seen with these races that almost the worse qualifying is, the better the racing is. There's this flip side of energy starvation. But I think qualifying here is not going to be as spectacular as it could. Fernando Alonso suggests Spa is going to be even worse. That basically there's deployment out of La Source up to Les Combes, but if you use your energy there, then you're pretty much screwed for the rest of the lap. Then you don't have it down that run to Blanchimont, so you're going to have to pick where you do things there, and it could be equally as bad. It's something we're going to have to get through. Still tune in on Sunday. I think the race will still be good. It'll still be close. Just Saturday, maybe just don't have the onboards on too loud to feel those cars just dropping away with their speed as they run through those high-speed corners.
Yeah, that's the thing, because that Beckett section, it is a sequence through which you do shed speed. You go in a chunk over 300 kilometres an hour, and that does drop down. But they're going to be driving to the power unit, not to the grip, and the same potentially in Cox as well, which I think on this poll out last year, Verstappen's minimum speed was something of the order of 304 kilometres per hour. So this is a concern. They've got the recharge limit for qualifying of 6.5 megajoules, so you can't do it as much as you might ideally. That reduces the incentive to lift off to harvest or to super clip to harvest. So they made some countermeasures, but again, you cannot fix this problem that's hardwired into these power units, and it's just going to continue to run and run. Next year we'll have the next step towards solving that, but it's just always going to be there. You can only mitigate and reduce the problem.
Yeah, pulling the recharge limit down from 7.5 to 6.5 for qualifying is down to 8 in the race. Is all to stop any absurd driving, ridiculous lift and coasting. You minimise it. But then the flip side of that is the cars go slower, so not as quick. You're then into where can you recharge and where do you choose your deployment. So I don't think it's going to solve the COPs Beckett's problem. We're just going to have to get through it, unfortunately, this weekend, and then hopefully look to the future. Maybe things will get better. It's just going to be a bit of a challenge, I think, for the next few days.
Yeah, so it's something to expect when you come to watch qualifying, that those spectacular corners might be a little bit disappointing, but as all the drivers said, we'll see exactly how it is in reality in practice. I think Pierre Gasly or Fayko Colapinto, one of the Alpine drivers, was saying that they hope it's not as bad as it was in the simulator. There's a lot of drivers hoping that, and I'm sure a lot of fans will be hoping the same. So let's see how it looks in practice tomorrow.